to George Washington University, going so far as to project statements on the walls of the campus building, statements that seem to suggest support of the violent massacre by Hamas. Tahmineh Dehbozorgi is a law student at GW University. She is a speaker with the Dissident Project, that is an organization that promotes anti-authoritarian speakers. Tahmineh, thanks for being with us this evening. Let me begin with a basic question.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We live in a bumper sticker world where it's easy to take a stand on a college campus. Black Lives Matter, say no to hate. But this is an issue that has involved Nobel Prize winners who haven't been able to sort out the problems of the Middle East for decades. Do you think your fellow classmates have it right?
You know, every time I go and speak to these students and ask them, okay, what is actually your stance? When you say you support Palestine, what does that mean? And many times, unfortunately, I've heard a lot of anti-Semitic comments from them. So my conclusion is that these students actually do not stand for civilians. They do not stand for peace. They actually are supporting killing of a group of people based on their religion and nation of origin. To me, that's very unacceptable, given the fact that what is actually going on there and the historical backdrop. However, none of this is actually surprising to me. For many years, college campuses have championed this type of rhetoric in the name of free speech. And on the other hand, universities have refused to condemn this sort of threats against Jewish students because they actually didn't take it seriously. But every time students want to speak up against this sort of rhetoric, it was labeled as Islamophobia. So there has been this double standard, even in academic institutions themselves, that have fostered such environment.
Tahmineh, is it actual hatred, or is it, in your opinion, ignorance of what the actual matters really are? Because if you ask the students, do you hate a person because they're Jewish, you'll get a different answer than if you ask them, do you hate a person because they're Israeli, correct?
A lot of their opinions come from a place of ignorance because they really do not know the historical context of the war going on in Israel. They don't know who are the real players in the war. Hamas is backed up by a lot of other governments, including the Islamic Republic of Iran, that has been supporting terrorism in the region for many years. And this is really not about war for liberation or against any sort of other oppression. This is an act of terrorism against a group of people backed by some other bad players in the region. And students at my university do not know that fact, or they want to remain in willful ignorance, which is very unfortunate.
Tahmineh, you are at GW University, as I indicated in the lead-in. You're right across from the State Department. You're in an area that at one time was predominantly black less than 15 years ago. You say you've seen this firsthand on your campus. Why does it seem, in your opinion, that anti-Israel protests have now verged into anti-Semitism, hatred of Jews? And what does that say about us as a society? Because, for instance, what if we changed the name to blacks or Asians and said these groups were being hated and marked for death? Do you think the reaction would be the same nationwide?
I think having this sort of rhetoric against any group of people is abhorrent and should not be tolerated. I don't think our society should be tolerating any sort of hatred against a group of people because of their nation of origin, because of their skin color, because of their language. None of that is acceptable. We live in a society where people come from different backgrounds. They come from different religions. That's what makes our campus very diverse and vibrant. We have people coming from Muslim countries. We have people coming from Israel. And I believe that, universities have a duty to foster that environment. And fortunately, there are a group of students who actually do not value that diversity. They want to remain in their echo chambers. And unfortunately, there are a lot of professors on these college campuses that encourage that sort of behavior in students, because we've seen professors at Yale University or even at some other campuses have said the same things. These are the educators in our country. And I think this is actually contributing to the events that you're seeing on college campuses.
Tahmineh, what do you say to people who say that students aren't upset with this cause as opposed to looking for a cause? After all, there are conflicts in Ethiopia, in Yemen, Ukraine, Congo, and the list goes on and on. Is yours a generation simply looking for a fight to fight?
I think that students on college campuses these days are a little more activist-minded. Actually, two of my colleagues at Young Voices penned a really great opinion piece in New York Post discussing that it comes from maybe the fact that a lot of admission officers are preferring students that are coming from activist backgrounds. This could be one reason, but the other reason is that, we've seen in the 70s there were a lot of anti-war protests going on in college campuses. Campuses are a hub for debate and protest. However, unfortunately, what we're seeing right now is really not about debate and conversation. These students cover their faces. They do not want to talk to each other. They say very violent things against Israelis. And I think this is something that we should be really aware of and really worried about. This is why education is really important. This is what we do at Dissident Project. We travel across the country and we talk about dangers of authoritarianism and how that can actually really impact individuals' rights. And I think a lot of these students would benefit from actually learning from experiences of those of us who've actually lived in the countries where these ideas of extremism, religiously motivated terrorism have been actually supported by the governments.
Tahmineh, thanks for coming. We look forward to talking to you again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
You got it.